My name is Rowyn Ashford, and it has been 3 weeks since I laid to rest my only daughter. Once upon a time, there was a girl named Rosie. At the age of 8, she found herself on the brink of discovery. Her heart soared with the wonders of space documentaries, her imagination took flight as she sketched rocket ships, and she held a firm belief that every ache could be eased with the magic of glitter stickers and the warmth of banana pancakes. On the morning of her funeral, I found myself sitting in solitude within my car, parked outside the service home. The fragrance of lilies clung to the dress I wore from the wake, and my hands trembled uncontrollably. I gazed at the final message from my sister. One solitary term. Understood. No, I apologize. I won't be there. All right then. As the day unfolded, the reasons became clear to me. My mother and sister had taken the next steps with Celeste's housewarming celebration. The one that eluded her attempts to rearrange. The event that seemed to have been in the works for weeks. They announced the gathering for Rosie's farewell. A farewell to a young soul who endured a year filled with pain. A small occurrence. In that instant, a fracture formed deep within me. Not in the manner of things shattering and falling apart, but in the way things fracture and become more defined. I remained silent. I did not plead. I picked up the phone and called my lawyer. This tale does not center around sorrow. Not quite. It revolves around the aftermath. When those you held dear opt for festivity in the face of your child's passing, you come to understand the true essence of who you are. What about me? I discovered that I am not the type of woman who simply moves on from that. For what felt like an eternity, I remained in my car, grappling with the weight of my thoughts, until finally, I summoned the courage to push the door open. The funeral home stood before me, a silent sentinel of sorrow. Everywhere, dark wood envelopes the space, while the windows remained shrouded in silence. As if it were designed to consume sorrow entirely, leaving only an echo of stillness in its wake. I wasn't shying away from entering. Rosie had arrived ahead of time. Within those walls. Within a casket that no child should ever occupy. I simply craved the sensation of something tangible before the inevitable farewell came once more. A sudden vibration stirred in my lap, pulling my attention away. The conversation lingered, the last message I had shared with my family still visible on the screen. Rosie moved on. The funeral will take place on Friday at 10 o'clock. Celeste, my sister, responded with a single word. Understood. I'm not sorry. I won't be there. Only that. Understood. Silence enveloped me. My mother had not reached out even once. Up to this moment. Her name glowed on the screen, casting a shadow of foreboding. Feeling drained, I opted for speaker mode instead of holding the phone to my ear. Rowyn, she exclaimed cheerfully, as if we were on the verge of chatting about a delightful brunch. I made my presence known, I declared. My voice scarcely registered as a whisper. In that moment of stillness, a shift occurred. The details surrounding the funeral. I was aware. In an instant. It felt as though one had been plunged into a frigid abyss. We can't make it, she said. We made a vow to Celeste that we would lend a hand with the housewarming. The date has loomed on the calendar for weeks now. I gazed through the windscreen, my vision clouded by tears that had crept back without my notice. Her housewarming, I echoed. It is her very first home, Mum went on. Are you aware of just how significant that is to her? Of greater significance than Rosie's funeral. Don't be dramatic, she snapped, her tone shifting from feigned sorrow to a sharp condescension in an instant. The moment for action has arrived, and you stand ready, having taken the time to prepare. For a whole year, Rosie has battled illness. This was hardly unexpected. I chose not to respond to her. I ended the call. After that, I reached out to Celeste. After 2 rings, she answered, her tone laced with irritation. What could it be? You are hosting a celebration on the very day we lay my daughter to rest. Weeks ago, the date was established. Rowyn, she stated with a flat tone. She has departed. She remains indifferent to the day of her burial. I exist, and it's time to honor my journey forward. The phone slipped from my grasp, my fingers feeling alien and devoid of sensation. Rosie often remarked that the house Celeste was about to inhabit, Grandma's cherished old residence, held a special place in her heart. She cherished the pink tile in the kitchen and the creaky steps that seemed to giggle if you stepped just so. She once remarked that if a home can bring joy to someone, perhaps it ought to remain within the family. In that moment, the house would become a gathering place for unfamiliar faces, sipping wine as my daughter's casket descended into the ground. Celeste received no response from me. No words could bridge the chasm between her chosen stance and the world around her. Within the solemn walls of the funeral home, the director welcomed me with a soft and compassionate demeanor. His gaze swept across the area behind me, as though he anticipated the arrival of someone trailing close behind. In that moment, solitude enveloped the scene, leaving an emptiness that echoed through the silence. No family member showed up. The seats that had been set aside for them remained unoccupied. The images of Rosie adorning the hallway, her dressed in a superhero Halloween costume, her extinguishing candles on her most recent birthday, seemed like relics in a forgotten museum, overlooked and neglected. Alone at the gravesite, I found myself enveloped in silence. The wind cut through the air with a biting intensity. I bid farewell, my hand left unheld. Not even my mother's. As the night deepened and silence enveloped the room, I found myself perched on Rosie's bed, enveloped by the vibrant drawings she had crafted for her nurses. The windowsill was adorned with her cherished rock collection. Amidst the stillness, a revelation dawned upon me. I was enveloped in a profound sorrow that extended beyond the loss of my daughter. I found myself grieving the facade of family. They were more than merely missing. A decision had been reached by them, and now it was my turn to decide. That night, sleep eluded me. Instead, I revisited each message from my mother and Celeste, as if I were probing a wound to experience the sharpness of the pain. At 6:03 a.m., I initiated the call that would prove significant. For more than 30 years, Mr. Carlyle served as my grandmother's trusted attorney. He picked up on the third ring, his voice deep and courteous, the sort of tone typically reserved for those receiving sorrowful tidings or comforting the bereaved. "I must verify something," I stated, bypassing the usual niceties. "Is the house that Celeste resides in, my grandmother's house, legally hers?" A moment of stillness lingered in the air. Pages rustled softly. Then his voice emerged, resonant and resolute. "The deed remains under your name, Miss Ashford. The transfer was never completed. It is right here in my possession." As I lay there, my gaze fixed on the ceiling, I blinked, trying to adjust to the unforgiving brightness of the morning light. "That can't be right," I remarked. "Last year, I entrusted her with the keys." "Handing over keys is not equivalent to transferring ownership," he remarked softly. "You instructed me to pause the paperwork until the situation with Rosie's diagnosis became clearer." It returned in pieces. The week following Grandma's funeral, my mother and Wayne sat at my kitchen table, the tea now cold, their voices gentle yet laced with persuasion. "Celeste requires a new beginning," her mother had remarked, stirring her spoon with a restless intensity. "She possesses nothing." Wayne remarked that you already have your own place. I felt an emptiness that silenced my voice, engulfed by the relentless tide of hospital routines, anxiety, and the complex language of medicine that eluded my grasp. "Very well," I replied. "She is welcome to it. We'll handle the paperwork at a later time." Eventually, the moment never arrived. There I was, seated opposite Mr. Carlyle, clad in black, my eyes weary and my fingers gripping the edge of his desk tightly. For hours ago, I laid my child to rest. At that moment, I found myself discovering something completely different. He spoke with a hint of mystery, suggesting there was more to uncover. "Last year, you requested that I maintain financial records for tax purposes." I drew them forth. He pushed a folder across the table in my direction. My name appeared on the tab. With a deliberate motion, I eased it open. At the outset, there lay a bank statement. Then came another. 5 years of their experiences, meticulously arranged by month. Every instance revealed a steady $2,000 transfer from my account to my mother's. Throughout the months, Rosie underwent treatment. There were times when I found myself selling first editions just to manage my copays. There was a time when I found myself maxing out my credit card just to afford anti-nausea medication. A wave of unease washed over me. A distinct page was affixed to the rear. A loan for a vehicle. The name of my mother. $42,000. 1 month had passed since Rosie's diagnosis. A Mercedes, a symbol of elegance and performance, glides through the streets, turning heads and capturing attention with its sleek design and powerful presence. I leaned back, the atmosphere heavy and still. A vibration from my phone broke the silence. A message from my mother arrived, seeking additional resources for this month. The cost of insurance has increased. How is Rosie doing? I chose not to reply. In that moment, I chose to open Instagram. A photo graced the top of my feed, shared merely 2 hours ago. The story of my mother and Celeste unfolds. In the warm embrace of my grandmother's kitchen, champagne glasses were lifted high, sparkling in the soft light. The inscription stated, "Fresh starts. New house, a true blessing. Expressing thankfulness. Family comes first, always." In the background, the antique mirror captured the joyful expressions of their faces, each grin a story waiting to be told. A mirror that once belonged to the woman who nurtured me, who had envisioned that house as a second sanctuary for my daughter. That marked the ultimate break. More than merely their absence. It goes beyond mere selfishness. Yet, the smile that lies beneath it. This was not a matter of forgetfulness. The timing was not unfavorable. It was an act of sheer brutality. Conceived, crafted, and disseminated with tags. I cast my gaze upon Mr. Carlyle. What would be required? I demanded, my voice unwavering, to have them released. He remained utterly still, his gaze unwavering. I will gather the necessary documents. And in that moment, the essence of me that once recoiled, that sought to justify, that dared to dream, perished with my daughter. The remnants could not be overlooked. I set a deadline for myself until the sun dipped below the horizon. Until the heavens donned the same soft lavender hue as Rosie's cherished jumper. I allowed myself to unravel one final time. I grasped her final drawing, incomplete, hues straying beyond the lines, and allowed the sorrow to envelop me like a thick mist in my heart. Then I rose to my feet and summoned Mr. Carlyle. He had taken the first steps towards initiating the eviction process. Next, the call was directed to Noel. Our conversations had ceased since that somber day of remembrance. He arrived that evening burdened with flash drives, printouts, and the heavy heart of a father who had failed to save his daughter, yet held the hope of aiding her mother in recovering something precious. We toiled at the kitchen table, now a canvas of proof. Images capturing conversations. Images capturing the celebrations of birthdays within the hospital setting. The communication in which I informed my family about Rosie's passing. Each message bore the mark of a raid. Celeste had responded, "All right." Noel pushed an email across the table in my direction. "Your landlord mentioned." My mother reached out to him, asserting that I was not in a sound state of mind, and requested that he redirect my rent payments to her instead. He had declined, much to my relief. Yet, at this moment, it was captured in words. "They're not merely devoid of compassion," I asserted. "They possess a strategic mindset." The following afternoon, I encountered 2 officers at my grandmother's residence. I presented them with the deed. "Miss Ashford," Officer Brennan stated. "Are you the rightful owner?" Indeed, that has always been the case. Celeste swung the door open, clad in yoga pants and cradling a smoothie in her hand. Her expression shifted dramatically upon my arrival. "This is my house," she snapped. I firmly replied no. You simply behaved as if it were. The officers detailed the notice that would be given 48 hours in advance. Celeste unleashed her fury, her voice a tempest of anger and frustration. The neighbors observed from their porches. I laid my daughter to rest in solitude, I said to her, as you celebrated with champagne in her honor. Under the cover of darkness, I secured the doors with new locks. As dawn broke, I found myself with 4 security cameras expertly mounted and seamlessly connected to the cloud. I felt no sense of triumph. A sensation of something sharper pierced through me. Dominion. Celeste made her departure with a noticeable presence. In the stillness of the night, 2 evenings following the delivery of the eviction notice, my security app emitted a buzz, piercing the silence just after the clock struck midnight. A sudden activation of the motion sensor occurred. Suddenly, the feed transitioned into the eerie glow of night vision. Her vehicle sat poised, halfway up the driveway, as if caught in a moment of indecision. She advanced to the rear of the house, a metallic object shimmering in her grasp. The lens captured her in a moment of fury as she brought the bat down upon the rear window, shattering the glass with a decisive swing. I moved forward without a moment's pause. In a moment of urgency, I reached for my phone and dialed 911. My sister is intruding into my home. I've captured live footage. 2 days ago, she was removed through legal means. As the wailing sirens pierced the air, I found myself already outside, positioned on the sidewalk, phone in hand, observing the unfolding scene. A police cruiser arrived on the scene. Officer Brennan emerged from the shadows. His expression revealed a spark of familiarity. Then an unsettling shadow emerged. Affirmation. Is she within the confines of the space? He inquired. I gave a slight nod. The rear window. Just wait and watch. The officers made their way towards the house. Celeste stormed into the house, her fingers tightly wrapped around the bat. Her hair was in disarray, her face marked by intense anger. Did you really call the police on your own sister? Officer Brennan stepped forward, positioning himself in front of her. Madam, please lower the weapon. With a disdainful smirk, she allowed it to drop. This situation is utterly absurd. Within these walls lies my abode. No, I replied. It is not. Indeed, the evidence lies within the frames captured. Her gaze flickered to the blinking red lens positioned beneath the eaves. I expressed my desire to file charges. I informed the officers. Infiltration and trespass. Acts of destruction and defacement. Brennan informed her that a statement would need to be filled out, while his partner proceeded to read Celeste her rights. My sisters struggled fiercely, yet they remained unmoved. The neighbors observed quietly from their doorways and porches. Silence enveloped the room. The following morning, my mother appeared on my porch. Eyes rimmed in crimson. A purse held tightly against her chest, a shield in a world of uncertainty. She was not welcomed inside. Rowyn, this has reached its limit. We are united as one. I firmly replied no. A decision was made. You left Rosie behind. She would never desire this separation. Do not utter her name, I warned, a chill lacing every syllable. Her facade of sorrow faltered. Her voice became steely. You have consistently posed challenges. So delicate. Megan's job hangs in the balance due to the situation. She ought to have considered the consequences before she broke a window. On that fateful afternoon, a meticulously crafted video surfaced on Facebook. Celeste meticulously weaving together fragments of security footage to portray herself as the victim. Yet, the truth spoke in its own distinct manner. It was Rosie's teacher who spoke up first. The day of the funeral arrived, and I found myself there, surrounded by a somber atmosphere. The front row lay vacant before me. The hospice nurse interjected with a gentle tone. In those poignant moments, I found myself beside Rowyn as we shared the weight of Rosie's last hours. Isolated. Images emerged from the memorial service. A multitude of attendees. a queue of vacant family seats at the front. In a decisive moment, the county health department issued a statement. Miss Ashford finds herself on leave as an investigation unfolds. Once more, my phone rang. My mother, a figure of strength and warmth, has always been a guiding presence in my life. "The church is posing inquiries," she exclaimed, almost in a state of distress. "Your aunt watched the video. This has the potential to tarnish our reputation." "It's not about how others perceive you," I insisted. "It revolves around your actions." She attempted to place the blame on me, accused me of being heartless. They warned me I'd regret cutting them off. Yet, in that moment, I stood my ground. My attorney has provided confirmation. Letters demanding an end to certain actions have been sent out. They are prohibited by law from sharing information about you. "Very well," I responded. "Next, proceed with filing the restraining orders." "What about the house?" "I represent a cancer foundation." A moment of stillness. Then it became clear. That night, I wandered through the silent expanse of my grandmother's living room, now devoid of life. At last, it seemed to belong to me. With a careful motion, I delved behind a queue of books and retrieved a neatly folded piece of paper. Rosie's artwork. A stick figure adorned with untamed curls, proudly donning a vibrant red cape. In her handwriting, it declared that my mommy is a superhero. This time, the tears flowed not from sorrow, but from a pure source. A sensation akin to liberation. On the following day after I donated the house, a wave of messages came pouring in. Among them were distant relatives, individuals who had previously shared Celeste's video without a second thought. They now extended uncertain apologies, providing clumsy justifications. Some chose to forego any justifications. They simply uttered an apology and walked away, leaving the moment hanging in the air. I chose not to respond to any of them. Later that evening, Noel made an appearance. He arrived empty-handed, without any flowers or casseroles to offer. Only a manila envelope and 2 cups of coffee. "This is everything," he declared, pushing the folder across my counter. Within those pages lay a collection of screenshots, bank statements, and email exchanges, each piece meticulously gathered, forming a narrative that unveiled the truth of how my mother and sister had drained my resources while I fought to save my daughter's life. "Is there anything more you would like to discuss?" I inquired. He gave a slight nod. "Additionally, in honor of Rosie, the foundation successfully gathered more than $12,000. Contributions continued to flow in." I held the envelope close to my heart. For once, it wasn't sorrow that constricted my throat. It was a gentle touch, a feeling akin to pride. As the night deepened, I found myself sifting through Rosie's art box when suddenly my phone buzzed once more. "A new certified letter has arrived. This message comes from Megan's attorney." As the water flowed from the tap, I carefully opened it at the sink. It was a moment of stillness, cloaked in menace, a proposition to resolve disputes behind closed doors and spare the family from further disgrace. I remained silent. I held back my tears. With a decisive motion, I fed the letter into the shredder, then returned to the task of washing the paintbrushes. During that week, I finally removed the last of the sympathy cards. Not due to the fact that I was progressing forward. I really disliked that phrase. Yet, I had reached the point where I could no longer remain in stasis. Rosie's grave lay untouched, the earth still bare and the grass yet to sprout. I knelt beside her headstone, my fingers gently tracing the engraved letters. "I always taught you to be kind," I whispered. "Yet, I realize now that I should have shown you how to hold your ground as well. I assure you, I'm on a journey of learning." Upon arriving home, I discovered a small box patiently resting by my front door. Within lay a solitary daisy accompanied by a note penned in uneven script. "I learned of your family's actions. In this journey, you are not solitary." The document remained unsigned. It was unnecessary. As I lingered on the porch, I observed the sun slowly sinking beyond the treetops, casting a warm glow that faded into the evening sky. The atmosphere was crisp, tranquil. I was certain of my choice without needing anyone to affirm it. Tranquility is not solely derived from the act of forgiving. At times, it arises from departing with nothing in hand yet still feeling complete within oneself. The soft butter yellow paint in my new hallway danced with the morning light. The walls were adorned with Rosie's drawings. Rockets soar through the cosmos, capes billow in the wind, planets spin in their celestial dance, and flowers bloom in vibrant colors, all elegantly showcased within humble wooden frames. As I moved along, my fingers grazed each one in a gentle caress. A serene ceremony that went unnoticed by all. I was indifferent. Loss had revealed to me the beauty in the overlooked, the moments that often slipped by unnoticed. This was not a process of reconstruction. This marked the start of a new chapter. Amidst a landscape of shifting regulations and barriers, I find solace in the freedom of self-approval. Every Tuesday evening, I gathered a group at the community center to share and support one another. 6 guardians. Each of us had laid a child to rest. We exchanged neither empty words nor schedules for progress. We delved into the guilt, the silence, the manner in which time had twisted itself around our suffering. In that raw truth, we wove ourselves anew, each delicate strand a testament to our resilience. Noel arrived just once. He lingered in the shadows, silent and contemplative. I have just finished listening. In the moments that followed, he confided in me that it was the first instance he had experienced a sense of being truly understood since the funeral. That was sufficient. On a quiet afternoon, the hospital coordinator made a call. "The families are eagerly wondering when you'll return," she said. "There is a desire for an increase in art days. Have you thought about broadening the program to include the satellite clinics?" I agreed, with unwavering resolve, unencumbered by fear. As dawn broke, I made my way to Rosie's final resting place. The grass had started to flourish, tender and vivid. I knelt down and placed a cluster of daisies gently beside her stone. I whispered, "You transformed me into a strength I never imagined I could possess. And I vow, I am drawing upon every bit of it." Upon arriving home, I discovered a small envelope patiently resting beneath my door. Within the confines of the envelope lay a drawing crafted by Lily, the girl who lived next door. A large crimson heart, with stick figures clasping hands under the shade of a tree. The message said, "Your flowers brought a smile to my face. Your house is quite charming." I affixed it to the refrigerator door. As the sun dipped below the horizon, I found myself on the porch, a warm cup of tea cradled in my hands, gazing up at the stars as they began to twinkle into existence overhead. After a long year, I finally found a moment where the shadows of my past no longer lingered over me. A sense of grounding enveloped me, stemming from what I had brought back into my life. Tranquility does not always come softly, like the dawn breaking over the horizon. At times, it rests softly, resolute, unrepentant. I had not merely endured them. I had outshone them.